Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. My name's Ashley and this is Crafts with Ash. Today I'm going to bring you 3 spooky farmhouse Halloween DIYs using mostly items from the Dollar Tree. If you haven't done so already, please hit that subscribe button, then hit the little bell so you can be notified anytime I upload a new video. So let's get started. For this first project, all you're going to need are 2 books from the Dollar Tree. Now, I decided to go with 2 books of the same size, but you can get any 2 books that you would like. Now, if you're a book lover, I would say to close your eyes just for a few minutes, because the first thing I'm going to do is rip the covers off of both of these books. The next thing I did was using my black acrylic paint, I painted the top of one of the books fully. Then I went ahead and painted the binding of both books, plus the half of the top of the second book. You're going to see that I'm going to stack these books, so I just painted what's going to be seen. Once my books were completely dry, I took my Waverly Antique Wax and a makeup sponge and I distressed the edges of the book. I wanted them to look like they were distressed and antiqued and old, so I went ahead and just brushed some of that on the sides of both books. Next, by using a sheet of sticker stencils that I got from the Dollar Tree, I took one of my books and spelled out the word spells on one of the binding of the books. To do this, I started at the end and worked my way in, and then I spelled it backwards, so I went S-L-L-E-P-S. Now, because there's only one letter of stencil on this sheet, I used other letters to just kind of fill in the spot to make sure that my measurements were correct. Then I took a small paintbrush and my Waverly chalk paint in white and painted my letters on my book. Now, even as they're still wet, you can go ahead and peel off the sticker stencil and it's still going to look great. I had to peel off the S so I can put it on the front of the word because the word spells has 2 S's. And I pulled it off while it was still wet and it turned out just fine. Once you have all your letters painted on, you can go ahead and peel off every sticker. Next, I repeated the same process on my other book and spelled out the word potions. Next, I took my black paint marker and just touched up any spots that got hit with the white that shouldn't have. To dress up my books, I took this spider web ribbon that I got from the Dollar Tree and wrapped it around the other end of my books. Then I went ahead and glued it down. Next, I took this other smaller spider web ribbon that I got from Hobby Lobby and wrapped that on top of the thicker ribbon from the Dollar Tree. To add even more detail, I took these 2 picks that I got from the Dollar Tree and used the black flowers from one of the picks, including the black leaves, and then the eyeball and the spiders from the other pick. Now I noticed that the top page was flapping up, so I just went ahead and tacked it down with some hot glue. After adding all my embellishments, I was done with my Farmhouse Halloween books. What do you think? For this next project, you will need this Beware sign from the Dollar Tree, 3 of these frames that have the galvanized metal in the middle with the clips, and then these letters that I got from Walmart. You're going to want to spell out the word boo. The first thing I did was take off the tag and the hanger from the board and give it 1 coat of white Waverly chalk paint. After my board was all painted, I pushed that off to the side and grabbed my 3 frames. I took the back off the frames, then by using a small screwdriver, I went ahead and took the clip off of all 3 frames. Then I took the stand off of the frames as well. I repeated this process for all 3 frames. Next, I gave each of the frames a coat of black acrylic paint. As I let my frames dry, I took my level that I actually got from the Dollar Tree and I drew lines all the way down the board to make it look like shiplap. I started my line at the bottom of the groove that was already on the board. Then, by using the same black acrylic paint and a makeup sponge, I distressed the edges and the middle of the board. I just lightly brushed my makeup sponge over the top and the edges of the board. Then, to make sure all my paint blended together, I took my sanding block and sanded my board down really well. Then I went back to those 3 frames and I'm going to put them back together. But I noticed that the metal galvanized piece came off of the back of each piece, so I just went ahead and hot glued those down. Then I put the frames back together. Then, after removing my letters that I got from Walmart from its packaging, I went ahead and hot glued those down in the middle of each frame. Next, I arranged my frames going vertically down the middle of my board. Next, I attached my frames to my board by using E6000 and hot glue. The E6000 is going to provide the long-term hold, and the hot glue is going to provide the immediate hold. To complete my piece, I'm going to add a bow. So I took that same ribbon that I used in the first craft that I got from the Dollar Tree, and I cut a piece off and then cut it in half going vertical to make it a skinnier piece. Then I grabbed that same spiderweb ribbon from Hobby Lobby and I cut off 2 pieces of that. Then I grabbed some solid black ribbon that I had in my stash and cut off 2 pieces of that. Then I arranged all my pieces in a fat X, just kind of layering all of the ribbon, and then I tied it all together with some white cord that I had in my stash as well. To make my bow look clean and finished, I went ahead and I dovetailed the black solid ribbon, and then I just cut the other ribbon at an angle. After my bow was complete, I went ahead and hot glued it to the top of the first frame. Then I took that white cord and I looped it through the back of the frame and tied 2 knots to the front and hot glued them down to create a hanger. Now, I didn't end up using this as a hanging piece, but I wanted to show you how to do this just in case you wanted to use it as a hanging piece. And that finished off this farmhouse boo sign. What do you think? For this last craft, you will need this sign that says Home Sweet Home. I got this from the Dollar Tree. A pack of sticker letters, or of course you can use your Cricut. This also came from the Dollar Tree. Then you're going to need these witch legs or shoes. Now make sure that you get 2 of them and that they are facing different directions. They are sold separately. Then you're going to need a foam block, and this container from the Dollar Tree or any kind of bucket to put your project into. Then you're going to need this creepy cloth from the Dollar Tree and some little accessories. I did not end up using the brooms. The first thing I did was take the ribbon off of the back of each of the witch feet. Now, the first one just simply pulled off. The second one I did have to cut off. Then I took a piece of fine grit sandpaper and sanded my feet down. These have a lot of glitter on them, so I needed to get it off because I will be painting over the orange parts of these signs. So I just sanded down the wood completely. Once my witch feet were completely sanded down and brushed off, I went ahead and took some Waverly chalk paint in white and painted over the orange stripes on both of these feet. Next, I took that Home Sweet Home sign and pulled off the two home pieces, which were the biggest pieces, sanded it down where it was stapled because it was a little rough, and then using my black acrylic paint, I gave each of these little pieces a coat of that. Next, I took that little galvanized bucket and I wanted to make it even more galvanized. So I took my elephant gray Waverly chalk paint and gave this bucket 2 coats. While I let my bucket dry, I went ahead and grabbed those 2 little black pieces, my white chalk paint, and a makeup sponge, and I just dry brushed the edges of both of these pieces. You'll see that I started going into the middle of the one piece, but I decided I didn't want to do that, so I just touched it up and painted over it with my black acrylic paint. I did this for both pieces. After my pieces were distressed, I went ahead and took my sticker letters and I spelled out witches on one of the pieces and welcome on the other piece. Now, you can get away with using one sheet of this if you use one of the M's as a W. If you want 2 actual W's, you will have to get 2 sheets of these sticker letters from the Dollar Tree. Then I took that makeup sponge again that had the white Waverly chalk paint and just touched up the edges. And this time I did actually go into the middle because I just thought it would look a little bit better and add some dimension. Now, I noticed that a couple of the stickers were coming up, so I went ahead and coated the tops of them with a nice thick layer of Mod Podge. After my bucket was completely dry, I wanted to make it look like it was galvanized. So I took a regular kitchen sponge and cut a little square off of it. Then I took my Waverly chalk paint in white and dabbed the sponge in the paint and then lightly dabbed it on my bucket. I did this for around the whole bucket in random places. Then I went ahead and did this with my black acrylic paint and my Waverly antique wax. Next, I took my floral foam block and I hot glued it to the bottom of my bucket. And I took that same ribbon that I've been using this entire time from the Dollar Tree and I wrapped it around the bucket right in the middle. Next, I took that spider web ribbon that I got from Hobby Lobby and I wrapped that around the bucket right on top of the thicker Dollar Tree ribbon. Next, I took my 2 witches' feet and I placed them in the middle of the foam block. Then I hot glued my boards with my words down, kind of topsy-turvy, so it looked kind of spooky. Now, I did welcome witches, but you could definitely do witches welcome. It's totally up to you. Next, I grabbed my creepy cloth and I placed it around the bottom of the feet, covering the foam block. I let some of it hang over and then tucked some of it in. Next, I took the big spiders and I glued one right to the middle of the bucket, and then I placed 2 of them right at the bottom of my feet. And there you go, a cute farmhouse Halloween welcome sign, perfect to welcome in your ghoul friends. What do you think? I had so much fun creating all of these farmhouse Halloween DIYs. They are so spooky yet so cute and very simple for your simple decor. I'm really having a hard time trying to figure out which one is my favorite, but I am kind of leaning toward the boo sign. I just love that. You're going to have to let me know in the comments which one you like the best. I want to thank you so much for watching my video. I truly hope you enjoyed it. If you have not done so already, please subscribe to my channel, then ring the little bell so you can get notified anytime I upload a new video. Then hop on over to Facebook and give my Crafts with Ash page a like and a follow. Thank you so much for joining me, and until we craft again, I'll see you soon. Bye!